everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Business Development for Parabolis. We provide a better financial partnership for government contractors that includes a line of credit to fund your growth. The purpose of this podcast is to assist small businesses with success in the federal marketplace by introducing them to industry experts and resources that they may not otherwise know about. Today's guest is my soul sister. She's one of my favorite people in the entire world and a returning guest on this program, Courtney Fairchild, President of Global Services. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be with you. I love
Absolutely.
You know that.
Of course. You have no idea how excited I am because I can, let my hair down a little bit more than usual. I went all out. As you can see, I'm previewing my Halloween costume. Apparently, I've got my channeling my inner hippie with my backdrop and my tie-dye. So look out.
I have a lot to live up to here. I'm going to have to do some better things in my background.
Well, you're about to do that. You're going to make me look good by telling everyone a little bit more about yourself and your background. And then if you wouldn't mind, for those who aren't familiar with Global Services, explain about the services that you provide to the government contracting community.
You bet. Well, thanks again for having me. I'm so appreciative to you and Parabolis and all that you do to help educate those that you are helping to fund for growth. So Global Services is a company that provides GSA schedule services and federal business development services. So we provide upfront contract maintenance, we help companies obtain and maintain GSA schedules as well as other federal proposal development. The real goal for us, much like you, is to help companies understand whether or not they're pursuing the right opportunities and if the GSA schedule is right for them before we jump to automatic pursuit. Because the GSA schedule can be such a daunting process for so many different contractors. We've been in business for 25 years in January, and we've helped over 3,000 contractors obtain more than $20 billion in funded contracts during that time.
Wow. So you started the company when you were, what, 8? That's
exactly.
Amazing.
No, I was 10. Come on.
Yeah, you're a prodigy, man, in more ways than one. We're going to get into that, which is amazing. So I love the fact that you and I are coming from the same place as each other when it comes to being passionate about helping people first. And I know you because I've stood next to you when people have asked you questions, and you don't always say, oh, yeah, I can help you do that. Sometimes you tell people that it might not be the right time or it might not be right ever. And I love that about you because you're honest about the process because it isn't a good fit for everyone. So I want to talk a little bit about how we see a lot. I know I hear it a lot that small businesses gravitate towards GSA schedules. I want you to discuss why some of this happens, first and foremost, what kinds of companies are able to actually obtain a GSA schedule, and then misconceptions, because I know all three of these questions kind of combine into that whole, is this a good fit?
Yeah, that's all a really good question. Let's start with why small businesses think that they need a GSA schedule. And what I have found is the primary reason people call me and ask for assistance is because someone has telemarketed them and told them they need a GSA schedule. So as soon as small businesses register in the System for Award Management, or SAM, the telemarketers jump on that and they are calling and saying, which is all true. I mean, there are over close to $40 billion that run through the GSA schedule program. But that does not mean that if we all jump on a GSA schedule that our phone is going to ring and that dollars are going to start running through the door. So there are things that you need to think about. And the first is, what is your business development strategy? Whom are your ordering agencies? How do they buy? Is the GSA schedule a contract vehicle that the ordering agency I'm targeting will buy from? And if you don't know the ordering agency you're targeting, take a step back and stop pursuing any contract vehicles, because you have to actually have a proactive market research, business development, and understand who buys what you're selling, whether that's products, whether that's services. About 1 out of every 3 instances of purchase are made by using a GSA schedule. that means that 2/3 of the time it's not the right contract vehicle. However, it's the only generically available contract vehicle that you can prime. So for small businesses, I think you asked sort of what kinds of businesses can obtain a schedule. And I would say that one of the biggest differentiators about the GSA schedule is that you can use commercial past performance. You do have to have past performance. You need to be a business that has done what it is that you want to do in order to put it on schedule. But it doesn't have to be as a prime federal contractor, and it doesn't ultimately even have to be done as a federal subcontractor. You can use your commercial work and some other, any past performance that you've had in the last 2 to 3 years in order to substantiate what you want to move forward with.
Okay. So, I mean, because there's such an opportunity there and the dollar amount is so vast, I'm sure that that's why people jump at it. So if in the event they are a good fit, they are able to actually come in and have a valid reason to you that this is a great route for their business, how does Global Services assist with them actually obtaining the schedule? And then, to your point earlier, going after those task orders that aren't going to be just falling out of the sky into their lap.
I know, it's so sad that money does not fall out of the sky to any of us.
If it would, I'd be covered right now and you wouldn't see me.
Exactly. I don't think I'd be doing this. So one of the things that I just want to reiterate is the real reason to have a schedule is because an ordering agency has said that that's how they want to purchase from you. So you've proactively gone out, found individuals that use this for purchase and have said to you, are you on schedule? That's a great reason. Or you know you have an upcoming opportunity in the pipeline that's going to come out via GSA schedule. So that's when I say to someone, okay, great. Let's get started. Global Services helps from start to finish to help companies gather all of the data. We prepare the proposal on your behalf, help you with pricing strategy, technical. One of the most complicated things about a GSA schedule is what special item numbers should I be pursuing? How much of this is too much? When is it not enough? What will my pricing look like? The pricing is the key to a GSA schedule. And there are some very serious implications for the way that you both build your pricing, and it's not cost-based. It's all past performance-based. So it is essentially, GSA says, what is the lowest rate that you've charged for that product or service in the last 2 years? And then they want a 5 to 10% discount from that rate.
Wow.
So if your pricing hasn't been great, oftentimes you said earlier, when's not the right timing? I may give companies a strategy to say, let's today start using a standardized commercial, market rate sheet and start to bill different levels rather than giving a discount, and to work in so that I have invoice support for everything that I want to put on schedule, but I'm not automatically having to jump to the lowest. I can have a 1, 2, and 3 rather than, that we're at 200, 150, and 100 rather than just jumping down to a discount from the 100. Because ultimately getting on this contract also has to be usable. If I can't hire under the rates that I've accepted, if I can't bid using the rates that I've accepted, and I don't have enough categories to respond to a performance-based statement of work, or don't have the right products that people want to buy, then it's useless. And so I've been awarded a contract vehicle that I will ultimately lose, because you have to do $25,000 of sales in the first 2 years and every year thereafter to keep it. So I think that also catches people off guard.
Right. And I didn't even realize that. I mean, I've sat in on a couple of your presentations and have learned a lot in terms of the pricing aspect of it that I wasn't aware of. It's crazy. I was blown away when I was at your last presentation and you talked about that aspect of making sure you price it right so that you can continue to do business at a rate that not only is within the requirements of what you've set up with the government, but we're not in this for a charity, right? So you've got to be able to have a profit margin and all of that as well. And I think sometimes people forget that.
I think just in general, people forget that in business. Often we get so caught in what the price to win is rather than what our costs are and whether that's good business to be chasing. Mm-hmm. And that's true for GSA as well. Not to mention that it because of you have to backwards display your commercial sales practices and lowest rates. And then forwards, you have to monitor that you're not giving better rates as a subcontractor or to any entity that's not the federal government. So for a company, you asked at some point, what kind of company is this right for? If you're 99% commercial and you're going to have a very small sliver that's federal, it is probably not the right contract vehicle, because you're going to hamper your entire commercial sales team with what they can price for products or services based on this contract and what you've agreed to track over the life of the contract. So sometimes, ordering or larger firms or commercial firms don't want to get involved. And lastly, all of your pricing becomes public. So you have your ceiling prices on what's called the Schedule Z library. And again, sometimes that is not something that all companies would like to have. That your ultimate win rates, if you discount, will not be listed. But it is, for some companies, that can be a proprietary thing, and they actually don't want to have a public price list out there.
Right. It could infringe on their ability to be competitive in their market, because then everyone gets
sure.
to see what everyone is charging. Plus, with inflation right now and the cost of everything going up, you price yourself somehow in some way now. Is that going to be a good fit a year from now? Or, in that parameter of time that the government's looking at how you're priced out everywhere else in the market.
Well, that's the thing about a GSA schedule that right now is very disadvantageous, because they are awarded based on your historical sales and evaluated against other companies' historical sales. Again, it's not cost related. So just because there's a huge inflation, until I start billing those higher rates and I stop billing any of the lower, I'm stuck at what I've done for the last 2 years. So there's a little bit of a lag here for contractors, and some are saying they're going to wait and hold. They're going to raise all their pricing and hold for a year before they pursue a schedule, so that they can accurately be able to hire. Because as we all know, it is a difficult thing to do right now. And if we have locked in at these government contracts at rates that are so low that we can't even provide that staff, then where are we? We're going to default.
Right. And or not be able to get adequate talent to fulfill the obligation, because people can't come in and perform at the rate that is optimal at the cost that they can the business can afford to pay them. So it's a catch-22 right there.
Well, and having said all of these really depressing things about the GSA schedule,
on the good side of it,
I know exactly. There is, and you and I have talked about this recently, there is a program that GSA is providing for all federal agencies. It's called the Market Research as a Service program. They, in accordance with the federal acquisition regulations, when you're doing requests for information or RFI, there are certain things that you have to do in order to be able to put out an RFP. Ordering agencies don't have enough time. They don't have enough acquisition workforce to do their own RFI work. So GSA geniusly has said, we will provide that service to you, every other federal agency, for free. And they put out the requests for information. And what they're doing is sending them only to GSA schedule holders under those special item numbers. They have increased the volume that goes through the GSA schedule by almost $5 billion in the last year. And I have to believe that a huge portion of that is it attributed to the Market Research as a Service, because they're smart enough to say, we'll do this for you, but then we're going to send it out to our contract vehicles. We're going to make this available. And so for years and years, I've told everyone that GSA schedules are an opportunity closure tool, which I still believe, but not an opportunity identification tool. And after I see the 5 RFIs that came out to my email, because I'm listed on contracts for maintenance purposes for our clients just this morning, I think to myself, it is also an opportunity identification tool, and much more so it is becoming. And anyone that doesn't hold that special item number, and anyone that didn't respond to the RFI, is then locked out from bidding on the RFQ. And I think you were in the room when we were doing a session And half the room said, I had no idea what those were. I've just been deleting them for the last 6 months.
Yep. Well, when something new comes down, unless someone brings it to your attention as being important, it's hard to know because we're inundated with so much information these days. But that's so valuable. I mean, everyone in the industry that's from a service provider side of it has been, talking about market research and how important it is forever. But someone that's coming from the commercial market as a business owner into it might not recognize it as being as important as it is until they get entrenched and figure out, how am I going to get an opportunity? Well, without it, it's going to be pretty darn difficult to do so. So I think the fact that GSA is going out of its way to provide it to the people who are in line to provide the services and goods for that particular vehicle is invaluable, and way to go for them. Finally, some changing momentum, right?
It is good business, right? It's government acting like business. They're trying to get the dollars through their vehicle, but it also has become, we've taken on a ton of contract maintenance clients over the last year because it's become so important that you have the right special item numbers, and so important that you keep your products and services up to date so that you can appropriately respond to those as well as be able to bid them later. And so we've seen the contractor community take this contract vehicle a little bit more seriously post-award. It's a 20-year contract vehicle, and people, they win it and then they ignore it, and then they want to bid it, but they realize they never added what they needed to be able to appropriately make a bid. So I'm watching a lot of people really come to terms with the fact that they need to sort of feed and water their contract vehicle and make sure that it is available for their BD people appropriately when they need it.
Which is exactly why a business like yours exists, because people need guidance through that. And another, crucial component of it is compliance. People might not recognize once they get on it. And I didn't either. And not because I should for any reason or another, but it was,
right.
Standing at your table at one of the events that we go to together and listening to your team talk to people passing by, asking questions about the compliance training that your company provides. So how important is compliance in reference to a GSA schedule, and how do you guys assist with that?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that everybody wasn't paying attention to, and they're hearing more and more about audits that happen and the compliance issues. We talked about the fact that you have to monitor your pricing and make sure that you're providing the same discount relationship as originally awarded for the life of the contract. And that means setting up the right systems. It means tracking your GSA sales and ensuring that you're not ever overbilling your current prevailing GSA rates as well within that. There's a lot of compliance in terms of tracking by special item number, reporting your sales, et cetera. So we both do have a training that we do every other month for anyone that's gotten a GSA schedule with us, or someone that got it on their own and wants some compliance training. And we help develop those programs when we are acting as contract maintenance outsource for, that's one of the first things that we do, is to say, okay, let's go through everything, see what you've agreed to. Do you understand it? And do you have the right controls in place to monitor and maintain compliance moving forward? It's not a sexy thing. Lawyers say this all the time, right? Compliance, it's boring, but it's absolutely crucial in the world of government contracting.
Well, people recognize it really quickly when audit time comes around, right? I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure you're like me. You love it when people come to you before that happens, but when it's a dumpster fire afterwards, it's like, oh, okay, now you believe me.
Well, yeah, now you believe me, and we've had to pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars, or $40,000 because you accepted an escalation on a task order that then eventually was higher than your GSA rates, and you didn't realize that just because the ordering agency assigned it, you couldn't bill those rates. You can never overbill your current prevailing GSA rates, and I've seen a lot of payback for that over the last little while.
Well, and I didn't know, and I didn't do it on purpose doesn't count in audits.
It doesn't.
They're like, they're not going to be like, oh, okay, no problem.
I had no idea. Is that a problem? Yes, it's a problem. You sign the contract, and, and you are responsible for knowing and understanding the terms and conditions to every contract that you sign.
Yeah, that's important. That's why businesses like yours exist, because people need assistance with this, because Lord knows what you don't know can hurt you.
That's an understatement.
I say that to my kids all the time, though.
And it's funny, even after 25 years in the industry, like you, I stay around all of you guys and my teaming partners, and I learn things every day. You'd be surprised how quickly things change. So I'm following all of our teaming partners and their LinkedIn and social media to make sure that I'm staying abreast of the changes as everything goes forward. And GSA has been on the forefront of that. In the last couple of years, this program has changed dramatically. Mm-hmm. And people think they understand what it was 10 years ago without knowing what's happened in the last 3 years. And that's really detrimental if you don't stay abreast of all of the changing regulations.
Absolutely. You definitely need to be committed to continuous education and learning, or you're going to miss something really important. Speaking of important, you have some passion projects outside of the work that you perform day to day. One of which is something that I've quickly become a part of and adore, being a part of the group of people who uplift and bring focus to women in business. And one of those is women impacting public policy. You are deeply involved in that and growing. You're about to take a new role with them coming up quickly. So tell us about this group a little bit, if you would, your role, where it's evolving into, and how people can get involved.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much for asking. It is an absolute passion project for me. I have been involved with Women Impacting Public Policy for over 12 years. I currently sit on the board of directors as our vice chair. And hope to, at the end of 2003, become our chair as well. Women Impacting Public Policy is a bipartisan group that lobbies on behalf of women business owners. It is one of the few organizations that is specific to women business owners and not just C-level executives. So one of the things that we do, whether your interest or your importance is taxes or federal contracting. We have an entire section of education for understanding more about federal contracting in both our own, as well as we do the Challenge Her program with the SBA and American Express. But my real joy has been meeting and helping women grow their business and to understand that you have a voice on the Hill and that we don't have to be reactionary. We can actually start to shape the policies that affect all of our businesses. And believe it or not, women-owned businesses have some pretty specific things that are for them, as well as I think it's one of the most welcoming communities in terms of women helping each other and the synergies that exist between all of us, regardless of where we are in the country or what kind of businesses we own. So I appreciate you. We're scrolling our website address on the bottom. I often say, and I think you've heard me say, we're going to lobby on behalf of you, whether you are a member or not, but we need your voice. In order to enact change in Congress, we need you to add your voice. So I implore women business owners to check us out, to take a look at what we have to offer, and to join your voice with ours.
I agree, 10,000%. And, it's a beautiful thing when women can get together and be unified behind a particular subject. And this is one of them. And I think for as much as the female entrepreneur community is growing, we really need to focus on things like this. I was welcomed in very quickly and have formed some friendships and business relationships that I would have never known prior to have gotten involved in. And some of the presentations that I've been privy to are not being done in other venues. So there's a lot of government agencies, SBA is deeply involved in making sure that the women-owned small businesses are being addressed in forums that WIPP is setting up. So it's an amazing group to get involved in nationwide. You guys do a lot of events. Speaking of that, I know you have one coming up next month, an event that people can attend, and just putting it on people's radar. What are some upcoming?
Yeah, next month we've got another Challenge Her event that we're doing in San Antonio, Texas. If you go to the WIPP.org website, you'll see our events page. And then also coming up in November, you're not going to see it there for about another week, but I'll give you the preview. We, in combination with NGLCC, are doing a Unity Week where we're going to have our own conference. They're having their conference. There's some things that we're doing together. We're doing some legislative meetings and opportunities. But that's in DC, and it's November 15th through the 18th. You'll see a lot more about that in about a week to come when you're finishing up the details. But we're excited to be a part of that, as well as I think WeBank is getting involved as well. So I'm excited for a fall. I think you and I have been to a lot of events lately, which is exciting that we're back, to some of these. But it's amazing how many of them are all going on at the same time. So we'd love to see you. If you're in San Antonio and you're interested in federal contracting, come out to Challenge Her. And I think that our event in November will be a great way to get to know WIPP if you can be in the DC area and you'd like to learn more.
I will be at that one in November. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great event. I always like to finish up the program by asking our guests to share some best practices or tips before we close out. So if you've got some words of wisdom that you can throw out there, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. You know what I'd say? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So if somebody is telemarketing you and telling you there's $1 billion contract out there for you if you would just get on the schedule, or, just as an example, I think we all have to take a step back and make sure that we are really building a fundamental business development plan and following it, rather than getting caught by, the chickens. Look, there goes a chicken at the side of the road, because they seem attractive and like a lot of fun, some of these things. But I think it's very important that you do your research. Both you and Parabolis has a great network of providers that will help you understand the federal marketplace, help you with those business development strategies. That is not what we do. Everything we do is proposal related. But I won't hesitate to say to you, you're going to have to take a step back and do those things first. So I think that's really my word of advice is, to make sure that you have a plan.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you giving us a shout out there very much. We appreciate you. I'm so glad that you were able to be here and share your expertise with our community and our listenership. I know that this conversation has been valuable. And so thank you. And I'm going to hold you to coming back again.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. I just can't tell you how much I love you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. And as always, thank you all for joining us. We're so excited to share our ongoing efforts to provide you with the tips and tools you need to be successful in this industry. If you or someone you know would like to participate in this program, please reach out. I'm always looking for new friends and new networking partners to share as a resource to my community. Until next time, be well. I'm Teresa Moon, and this is Spilling the Tea on GovCon. Have a great day.